the lane. 15-10. Touchdown, Chargers.
What's up, guys? Welcome into a Monday Night Football edition of Chargers Weekly. As always, joined by Matt Money Smith. Chargers coming off a primetime win against the Chicago Bears, 30-13, a comfortable win. Money, the first comfortable win, I think, since January 1st of this year. A game where, as it started to play out, you just realized how much better the Chargers were talent-wise than the Bears. It showed out from almost the beginning, and now I guess a bit of a fork in the road moment. 3-4 going up against a 4-3 Jets team on Monday Night Football. It's almost like a mini playoff game here.
Yeah, I think that is where we always talk about it, right? Tiebreakers. Tennessee and Miami, and you can't afford to lose too many of those. It's just so important that you try to win some of these, that if you end up 9-8 and the Jets end up 9-8, that you get the tip of the cap. Tennessee and these other teams, you've got to be able to build up some of that equity. So I think that's kind of what you're speaking to, right, is these Jets have managed to somehow figure out a way, especially this past week against the Giants. I mean, my goodness, they were dead to rights, and Graham Gano just shanks a field goal, and Zach Wilson decides to come alive for the final 30 seconds of regulation to tie that.
Was that the worst game of the year? That may have been the worst game of the year.
What was it? 20? How many punts? 25?
20. I think 24 punts.
23?
Something like that.
It's like the third most punts in the history of the NFL, or for the last 30 years, or something like that. So, yeah, I mean, and that's, I think as we'll get into it, I'm sure, but that's the thing, is their defense is really good. Their offense is not. So that's where you kind of say, okay, can the defense keep this offense in check and get a pretty darn good Justin Herbert passing offense, get those 17, 21 points that you think will be enough to get the win over a team that has really and they not only have struggled to score, Chris, but Nate Hackett and Coach Saleh, they don't even really want, I shouldn't say they don't want to score, but their number one priority on offense is take care of the football. We can win this thing with defense and special teams and hope and Breece Hall busts a long one. Just take care of the football, Zach. Take sacks, don't fumble, don't throw interceptions, and we'll figure this thing out in the final 5 minutes.
Money, have you ever done those Twitter spaces where you just you got a group of people and they're just talking? And so I did one yesterday with this Jets podcast, Jets Cast.
Okay.
Shout out to those guys. It felt like it was like a New York talk radio show where they're just asking questions about the Chargers.
Sounds like a nightmare.
They were all, hey, you know what? I think my key takeaway after that was the Jets fans and Chargers fans have a lot more in common than you think. They're just what's going on? They're kind of a middling record at this point, hoping to kind of hang on for a wild card spot. And a lot of questions about Justin Herbert and the secondary, and can Zach Wilson exploit this Chargers secondary? So I found it actually really cool. I feel like we should do that with Chargers fans at some point, maybe during the season. Just get on and answer questions. But before we really dig into the Jets, anything from that Chicago game that you learned about this team? To me, it just felt like it was a team you were supposed to take care of. Justin Herbert played well. Austin Eckler through the air. We were kind of waiting for that, right. 7 for 94 and a touchdown. And the defense, save for the first play of the game, took care of business, kept the running game in check, and kept the rookie Tyson Bagent at bay.
Well, I think there's a lot to take away, Chris. We're talking all these social media outlets now. After every game, I like to hop on Instagram Live and just hang out for what I do is one beer, however long it takes me to finish a beer or whatever I might have with me at the time. Maybe it's a drink. After this one Monday night, it might, if the hotel bar is open, if they'll serve me a nice double whiskey or something, that's what it'll be. But kind of and I bring it up because there was a Raider fan that hopped in there and started talking a lot of trash. And I said, why are you here, talking about the Chargers beating a crappy Bears team when the Bears team just beat the Raiders basically 30-6. So I bring that up not to say, hey, I really rubbed that guy's face in it. No, but this is a team that just knocked off a Raiders squad and basically got Josh McDaniels fired, that had rushed for over 160 yards in 4 straight games and was one of the best rushing teams last year. And granted, a lot of that was Justin Fields, but these last, nearly 2 full games, the Vikings and Bears game, were with Tyson Bagent, and they're still running the ball for 175 yards. And the Chargers knocked that out. They were like, okay, we talked about them taking away the right hand. Take it away. And they finally took it away. Well, you're not going to beat us on the ground, so you're going to have to beat us through the air. And by the way, Mikey's going to be playing a ton of press on DJ Moore, and we're going to shade that way. And so I think what you saw was, protection was shaded in the direction of DJ Moore. He only had 4 receptions for 55 yards. We'll take that all day. And what else? So then what did you see? Cole Kmet, 10 catches. That's fine. You want Cole Kmet to knock you out instead of Deontay Foreman and DJ Moore? That's what we were looking for. So that I loved. I think it was a reminder that when you have a healthy Joey Bosa, a healthy Khalil Mack, and now this rookie, Tuli Tuipulotu, it's going to be a struggle to run, especially if you're trying to run wide and you're trying to stretch it. These guys set the edge, and they can do some damage out there. And I think that's certainly my defensive takeaway. You mentioned it. The explosive on the first play was like, oh, boy, here we go again.
Yeah.
And then they were like, okay, that's not going to happen again. That's a miscue. We'll get it fixed. They did. And I think you saw really a complete performance. Derwin's first interception, the defensive line getting after Bagent, the other interception from Asante. Like, it was a really complete game. And that was defensively. And I know we can get into the offense as well, but I'll just kind of pause there.
Yeah, in holding this Bears running attack to just 2.9 yards per carry, and Deontay Foreman doesn't even get 10 carries in the game. So the run D all year money has been pretty good, pretty stout, and they're going to have to be stout against Breece Hall and company on Monday. We'll get into, but offensively, I mentioned Austin. I just think the toughness of Joshua Palmer to come back in that football game.
Right.
Not having a guy like Gerald Everett, Keenan doing his thing. It felt like Justin needed that game to kind of clear the deck and kind of remind people who he is. And let's face it, it's going to be a different animal in terms of pressure. The pressure coming in Justin's lap on Monday night with that Jets defensive line. They can rotate a bunch of guys in, players at really all 3 levels. But I thought Justin held up well, and I think you're starting to see, just this offense take shape a little bit. Now, I don't want to put too much stock in a win against this Bears team because, you said it. Like, I feel like maybe I had a false sense of who they were based on what happened the week before and what they did to the Raiders and, who Tyson Bagent was. I thought that Bagent actually played halfway decent. I didn't think that he was the reason they lost that game. Their defense they couldn't generate pressure all evening. And that's another thing. The offensive line held up. Justin didn't get sacked.
Right. So, I was just pulling up the depth chart for the Jets just to make sure I have them when we get into that. But that's something they had to do, right? The Bears struggle to pass rush, and they struggle to pass protect. Take advantage of their weaknesses, and they did. Justin didn't get sacked. He absolutely tore him up in the first half. And, he had, 16 straight completions or something like that. So, and by the way, I forgot, Asante didn't have that interception. It hit the ground. They overruled it on that 4th down, but it didn't matter. It was turnover on downs. Josh Heire, first career interception. I want to make sure.
Ja.
I acknowledge it was a Ja interception. But offensively, didn't take a sack, didn't throw a pick because his team isn't good at rushing the passer. So take advantage of that. They are good against the run. I do think a lot of that, though, is, and we saw that transaction this week. They didn't trade for a blocking tight end, but they cut one and they elevated one. And we know Nick Vannett, he's got some salt in him now. He's a little bit of a salty dude, and we like that. You're going to need a little bit of that in the run game, and they're going to give him a crack at trying to get this thing going and getting that blocking tight end to get the extra hat on a hat, because that's been a big issue. The designed rushes weren't right. And second half, it's they got to figure it out, because that's what they're trying to do, as they should. You're up 24-7, and you want to milk that lead. and they're trying to do it by running the football. And you'd hate that they would, have to scrap them, just scrap the running game and just do what you do best and keep throwing it. That's not how you want to operate. So I think they're going to continue to do that, and look, for Austin to be under 2 yards per carry is just, you got to figure that out. Obviously Josh Kelly had the explosive the week before against the Chiefs for 49 yards. I don't know if you just try to get him more carries, maybe put both of them out there at the same time so Austin's a threat in the pass game and Josh is in the backfield. But that's something they certainly have to figure out. And then, obviously, something that we've been talking about since week 2 when he didn't have much action in week 1, the fact that you finally got Q involved, that you finally 6 targets, 5 catches, 50 yards, a DPI, defensive pass interference to get a first down on a scoring drive. Finally, and I credit Justin and Coach Moore for getting some plays that Quentin's good at. Get those quick hitters so he can get some yak. Get the back shoulder throws. Let him use that big frame of his to turn around and shield his defender and catch some balls. And so I'm hopeful that they don't try it. They don't continue to try to make him look like Mike Williams, because he's not. Like, the one target he had that he didn't, catch, he was 6 targets, 5 catches, was the one in the end zone, the Mike Williams special, go up and eat the bowl of Doritos off the defensive back's helmet. So, and he went up with one hand again, and I don't know what's going on there, but played his strengths. He's got strengths. They're quick hitters. He's breaking tackles. He's getting some yak, and he's shown to be pretty darn good at those back shoulder throws to pick up some first downs. So I thought really good opportunity for the offense to get him involved and get him some confidence going into this one.
No doubt. And, Parham, too, quickly touch on him, 4 for 43 and a touchdown.
Huge.
In Gerald's absence was huge. The thing about Quentin, it wasn't like spectacular, right? But 5 for 50 and 6 targets, it just felt like progress. And I think it's necessary, especially going into this game against the Jets, when you got Sauce Gardner on one side, who I imagine is going to be on number 13. Justin's going to have to look other places, and Joshua Palmer may be that guy. He didn't practice again with that knee as we taped this on Thursday, but maybe this is another spot for Q to get further involved in the offense. Like I said, it was, seeing those plays, they felt very routine, but at the same time, just the fact that Justin, like you said, looking his way and making that effort to get him involved in the offense. Who knows, Money, what happens on Monday night, because I think he may get some more targets.
Well, he's going to have to, Chris. I think you said it. They're going to put Sauce on Keenan, I'm guessing. I don't think. I would assume they're going to play a lot more nickel. And I don't know. I really don't know what they'll do. If they'll put Michael Carter on him and Sauce will just kind of play on the left side, or how they want to do that. If they just want to say, hey, Keenan's yours, go get him, that would probably be my guess. And I think the thing with Q is what we talked about, right? Quick slants. Let him just get in there, see if he can get leverage, get him the ball, and go, because that pass rush, I was looking off camera because I was trying to get an eye on it. Man, it is nasty. It's Quentin Williams, it's Quentin Jefferson, it's Jermaine Johnson. I mean, these dudes, they roll them through, and it's tough, man. It's a tough front. Quentin is as disruptive as anyone in the league, not named Chris Jones and Aaron Donald, and he might be in Chris Jones territory now. That may be how good he's now gotten. So that ball's going to have to come out pretty quick, and I think that means big Keenan game, big Q game. Or, like you said, Donald Parham, see if you can get him matched up. Their linebackers are really athletic, too. Their linebackers are playing really well. So I think that's, Quentin Jefferson, Quentin Williams up front, Quincy Williams, C.J. Mosley at that next level, Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed. Like, man, this defense is good. So it's going to be an all-hands-on-deck, and it might end up being very similar to what we saw. Let's get a lot of those Eckler checkdowns. Let's try to get some yak. Let's just get the ball out of Justin's hands.
All right, let's hey, you know what? I got to ask you about this. This is a little bit off topic, but why would the Bears trade for Montez Sweat? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
I think for them, look, they better have had a deal in place, or else Montez
That's
just has way too much leverage, and you're going to have to make him the highest paid DN in the league. So let's just say they have a deal in place for him. They've got a ton of cap space, and I don't know how desirable they are if you're in the open market, but I think if you can bring him in, see if Coach Eberflus can make that connection with him, feel like, okay, I got a defensive coach, they need a defensive end. You know, I kind of like they've got they're going to have 2 top 5 picks, you know, in the draft. So maybe you reset with Drake May or Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison or something like that on the offensive side of the ball. And they just, you know, pass rushers are hard to find, man. You know it. They are so hard to find. And look, would I have done it? No. I just think it's weird because he's not on the same schedule as what the rest of your team is likely to be on, right? Like, if I were the Raiders, I'd be trading, as crazy as it sounds, I'd just be trading Max Crosby. Give me 2 ones. I gotta tear this whole thing down. This thing needs to be torn to the ground and rebuilt. So I need as many draft picks as I can get, so all these guys are on the same timeline and we're just growing together. And I think that's something that, you know, the Bears, for whatever reason, you know, let me just pull up their depth chart here just so I can kind of make sure I got this thing,
Buddy, as
you know,
as
covered.
You're pulling it
So
up, the one thing I was thinking about,
yeah,
though, is
Yannick is toast. Justin Jones, we know well, is old. I'm sorry, you know, like, there's really not, you know, there's not a lot there. I mean, Jalen Johnson's he's a good corner. I like Kyler Gordon. He's going into his second year. You know, they just spent big money. Edwards was great in that game against the Chargers. He's been great all year. I like Tremaine Edmonds. So, I don't know. Maybe they just feel like, hey, if we can just get some juice on that front level, we feel like we've got good linebackers. We've got a number 1 corner. We believe, you know what, and that Kyler's coming along in his second year. We just need to get some juice on that line.
Yeah. The only thing I'm thinking is, like, okay, they're not going anywhere this year. Like,
Right.
Are you going to play them? Like, why even play them? Like, put them in bubble wrap till next year. You know, it's like you risk injury
Right.
on a 2-6 team, and this is a guy that you're going to build your defense around. I don't know. It just was weird. The trade deadline, did you, before we get into just all things Jets, anything else from the trade deadline that intrigued you? You know, there wasn't as much activity.
Well, yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of is that, yeah, I guess, Chris, like, the thing I was, you know, we talked about so many different, you know, potential maybe blocking tight ends. You know, what was out there? Could they go get Jeff Swaim from the Cardinals? I'm trying to think of some of the other guys that we were thinking of. Could they go get Josh Oliver from the Vikings? Like, could they get Mercedes Lewis from the Packers? Like, were any of those things available? And I think ultimately, whatever the price was, which would not have been much, you know, maybe a pick swap. We'll give you a 6, you give us your 7 kind of thing. And they probably just said, you know what? Nick knows the offense. But he's as good, you know, we've got to make, because that's why they made the change. That's why Trey's out, you know, because they were probably looking for, that to me is what that signaled. We're looking for a blocking tight end. We need to find one. And ultimately they decided Nick Vannett was better than whatever else was made available to them at that position. You know, I think it was interesting just with the Corey Linsley situation. I don't remember what the compensation was, but, you know, they trade for Ezra Cleveland. I don't think it was much.
It was,
you know,
like, a
is he
6th-round
great?
pick.
Yeah, it was 6th. Yeah, so he gives them some depth now, and I just kind of think about, is there another, you know, can you shuffle the line a little bit if Will's getting worn down? You know, I thought maybe that could have been a position where they could have added. You know, I think what you see is so many of it are positions where, you know, it's mostly defense, right? You can tell Montez Sweat to get the quarterback. You can tell Chase Young to go get the quarterback. Like, those tend to be the positions that kind of you can do in the middle of the season because they don't have to really worry about the scheme and the fit and all that sort of stuff.
All right, quick break, Money, and we'll just get into the Jets. All right, guys, a big thank you to our partner, Microsoft Surface, the official sideline technology provider and laptop of the NFL and the Los Angeles Chargers, that provides players and coaches with the tools to succeed both on and off the field. Check out the powerful Surface Pro 9, combining the power of a laptop with the flexibility of a tablet at surface.com. VIP ticket packages for the first ever Super Bowl in Las Vegas are now on sale, and only On Location offers all-inclusive experiences worthy of the entertainment capital of the world. Ticket packages boast an array of offerings, such as premium seating to the game, epic pregame parties with headline talent, NFL legend appearances, premium drinks and fare, and much more. Visit NFLOnLocation.com or search NFL On Location today. Your football experience of a lifetime awaits, only with On Location. So, Money, we briefly touched on, the Chargers offense against this Jets defense. Maybe the battle that could decide the game, the Jets passing attack, which is 31st in the NFL, against the Chargers pass defense, which is ranked last. And, a couple of those games, the Tua game, the Mahomes game, kind of skews things a little bit. But that may be the matchup. Can Zach Wilson make plays against this Chargers defense, or will this Chargers defense look similar to what they looked like on Sunday night against the Bears?
Well, I look at Zach, and I got his game log here. He completed 47% of his passes against the Giants. He completed 57% of his passes against the Eagles. Now, he tore the Denver defense apart, which most people have, for 73%, but he didn't throw a touchdown. He threw a pick. Against the Chiefs, that was his best game of his career, that game against the Chiefs. He ends up completing 72% for 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. So it's in there. But then you look and you see 50%, 157, 44%, 170, 66%, 140 in a pick, and 3 picks against the Cowboys. Like, there's plays to be made. The one thing you got to do against the Jets, and, man, you want to talk about look, they just did it. They just did it against the Bears' rush attack. Deontay Foreman and Roshan Johnson and DJ Moore, well, you got to do it again. There's only 2 guys you got to worry about. It's Garrett Wilson and it's Breece Hall. Garrett Wilson is the only pass catcher that Zach Wilson throws to. I mean, he's got double the targets, double the yards, double the touchdowns as anybody else on that team. So if Allen Lazard or Randall Cobb or Tyler Conklin are going to beat you, great. Go get him, Zach. Do not let Garrett Wilson beat you. Put Michael Davis on him. Shade your help over there. Rough him up a little bit at the line of scrimmage and make sure you don't let Breece Hall get loose. So, to me, remember, their offensive line is in shambles.
It's a mess.
I mean, it is destroyed. So, I think defensively it could look a lot like it did against the Bears, where these guys are in the backfield over and over and over again. Now, Zach can run. Zach's an athlete. He can move. But at the same time, to me, defensively, those opportunities are there. This defense, what did we say before the Bears game? Hey, this is a Joey Bosa game.
Yeah.
Going up against Bourne, this is Joey on number 75. This is a Bosa game, and it was. He got the sack. He had the huge stop on 4th down where it was a one hand, and he wrecks him, and he's in the backfield for a loss on a 4th and 1. It should be that way again. It should look like that for Joey. So, take care of the football, force a turnover like they did last week. They forced 2, nearly 3. And really, when you count the 2 turnovers on downs, you can almost argue they forced 4 turnovers, 2 on downs and 2 interceptions. Do that again. And I don't think it's going to take, very similar to the Bears, I don't think it's going to take but 17 points to win this game if the defense plays like it did last week. And really, you could say, Chris, for the last 6 quarters, since halftime of the Chiefs game through that whole Bears game, if you can get the defense to play that way, and more Deion Henley, please. Can we get him out there a little bit, maybe on some 3rd downs? Get that athleticism out there on some 3rd downs. I wouldn't mind seeing him running around. I think Eric Kendricks has done a great job this year against the run. He had a couple huge stops. But I think on passing downs, I wouldn't mind seeing Deion out there. You just saw him, man, how fast he was running sideline to sideline, man. It was impressive watching him close and laying some lumber. I would not mind seeing him and Kenneth out there on 3rd downs.
Love to see number 0 out there. A couple of years ago, Joey Bosa, I think, led the NFL in strip sacks, and that's where I feel like it's for the taking. on Monday night. Is you got Mack and Bosa coming off the edge with Thule. Those three guys could decide the game. They could wreck the game, and heck, forget one turnover, get a couple, score on defense. I mean, I think this is the opportunity for Joey and Khalil to pin their ears back against an offensive line that's as beat up and battered as you mentioned, like the New York Jets. The back end too. Get your hands on the football. Derwin finally got his hands on the football. We've seen Zont do it. Since he's been a Charger. Jog got his hands on the football last week. So I think the defense is going to have to show up and maybe score. Someone asked me what they thought the score was going to be Monday night, and I said 20-17. I think 20 points wins you this game. Money, do you remember?
Well, I would say this, Chris. If the Jets score 17, they have not. Let's see. What do we got? We got a 22, then we got 10, 10, 20, 31, 20. Okay, yeah, so that works. 13. Like, I don't want to see him score more than 13. Like, to me, this is an opportunity. We talked about it going into the Bear game. We talked about, hey, this is the game you dominate. This is where you can take. I wish they would have taken their foot off the gas a little bit more. I would have liked to have seen that last offensive series. Just get everybody out of there, kind of thing. Because they could have done that. They did it on defense, right? You had all the backups in there on defense and give them an opportunity to shine. I would have loved to have seen that. I am hopeful that they can do that here. That you can pop a couple here or there. See if Herbert can pop a couple, get up 14-0, or get up double digits. Maybe it's 14. Put this team in obvious passing situations, and that's when you can really tee off. That's when you can start to tee off. If you can get up by, let's say, 10 or 14, and in the second half they feel like, okay, we can't just run the ball and punt and try to force that turnover, play the field position game, because that's all they did against the Giants, and it worked because the Giants are a terrible offense. So that's just the way they want to play. They want this thing to be a rock fight. And I think if you can try to find some explosives early, then, that's the key here.
Yeah, the Jets are not equipped to play from behind,
No.
And you're right. If 14-0 would be the perfect scenario. Now, you flip it. We talked about this in the offseason, the slow starts to the second half. Now they've just become kind of slow halves for the Chargers offense. It seems like they come out strong in the first half, didn't score in the second half against the Chiefs or the Raiders. Are you concerned that this trend will continue? Especially against a Jets defense that's as stout as they are, Money. Like, you got to play 4 quarters of offense.
Well, I think it's clear what it is. I just pulled up the game log, right, from that second half. So you're up 27-7, they score a field goal on the opening drive, right? So now you're up 20. They're struggling. You want to run the ball, see if you can get some of these 5-7 minute drives that end in field goals and just get this thing done. Instead, you got Austin Eckler on first down for -1 yard. So that's a 3 and out. The next one, you get the turnover on downs deep in Bears territory. Austin Eckler, 1 yard. And then that puts you off schedule, and then you get 2 incompletions, and next thing you know, you're kicking a field goal after gaining 1 yard on a turnover on downs. Then you look at it here, right? Austin Eckler up the middle, 3 yards. Josh Kelly, right guard, 3 yards. Austin Eckler up the middle, no gain. Austin Eckler on 4th and 1, no gain. They can't run the ball. They have really struggled to run the ball. And for whatever, I don't know what it is. I don't know why it is. I don't know if they're the wrong run design. If the designed runs are just wrong, if they're not able to block them up, does Austin Eckler not have juice? Like, I don't know what it is, but that's why the second half looked like that. Then the final drive, which was a 3 and out, was Spiller for 1 yard, Spiller for no gain, Spiller for 2 yards. And that's them just running out the clock, basically. That was so I shouldn't have even put that one in there. But you get the gist. Their designed runs have been bad. Like, they're dead last in the league, in EPA on designed runs. So, and they're dead last by a wide margin. Like a wide margin. I think their success rate is in I wish if I was more responsible, I'd pull it up. I think their success rate is in like the 23% range, and like the next lowest is in the 30s. Like it's a drastic difference as to how bad they've been. And those numbers, by the way, those include the Miami game. Like, that's the crazy part about it. Like, they were unreal. They were the number one rushing team in the league in the Miami game.
The predictability, though, Money, do you think that can hurt them against the Jets? If the Jets don't even respect the run and the Chargers try it in the first quarter to no avail, I mean, I know Justin can make plays with the best of them, but, like, I mean, it's you kind of playing – like one-handed here. Like, hey, we're going to throw the ball every down.
Yeah, I mean, look, they have to run it. I think it's just trying to figure out, okay, these plays aren't working. So is it not, like, is it Isaiah Spiller? Is it just, instead of trying to stretch these things and find the gaps that are out a little bit wider and you're running wide, so why not just, let's take the biggest back, see if we can run them up the gut. Let's just see if we can get a little more north-south. Let's run in the A and the B gaps, see if we can create lanes there. Now, again, I think this goes to the Nick Vannett, conversation. Do they think this could be an addition in the run blocking game where, he can help them out, and now you can get to those edges a little bit more. You can get another hat on a hat and have a little bit more explosives on the edges. So, look, we know it's in there. Josh Kelly had one for 49. We saw it against Miami. So, and look, the Jets, if I remember right, the Jets are not a good run defense. They're a really good pass defense. If memory serves correct, they are not a good run defense. Let me see what I got here. I'm almost positive of that. You
can run on them, and I think that the Chargers will probably try to see what they got cooking in the first quarter, Money. Whether it's Kelly or Spiller. I think Austin.
Yeah, 145 per game. Let's go.
I think Austin talked about, he's not happy with the way he's been running the football, and maybe this is a spot to get right on the ground for this team, because you're going to have to pack it at some point. You really are going to have to pack it at some point. And Monday night would be a nice start against a team that, is 4-3 right now. Money. I'm just looking at these standings in the AFC, man. It is completely jumbled. Coincidentally, we're taping this during the Titans-Steelers game, which we could look back week 17 and be like, that was actually a big game in terms of the tiebreaker with the Titans and, what the Steelers could be right now. We see Cincinnati coming on. Baltimore looks to be the class of the AFC North. The Jets are just hanging around. The Bills have underachieved. The Dolphins are 6-2. We know what the Chiefs are, even though they stubbed their toe against the Broncos. The Broncos,
and those two teams are playing, by the way. Well, Dolphins and Chiefs are playing this week, so
they're playing in Germany.
Get a little bonus there.
How about the Broncos beating the Chiefs and then standing pat with all the guys that we thought were going to be part of the fire sale? I feel like the Broncos, you look at their schedule. Who knows? They could get on a little bit of a run here. So that 6 and 7 seed in the AFC. Completely up for grabs right now. Unfortunately, the Chargers, I think they're technically a game back of the 7 seed, but you got a host of teams in front of you right now. So it's one game at a time. It's cliche.
Here's my main concern, right? When I look at it as it stands right now, Kansas City, Miami, Jacksonville, Baltimore. There's your division winners.
Yep.
Do you think any of those four are falling out? No. I don't think any of those. Kansas City's going to be there. Miami's going to be there. Jacksonville's going to be there. Baltimore's going to be there. They're going to make it. So then I look below them, and I see Buffalo, and then you already said it. I see the Bengals coming on. I see the Bengals. So now
and they play each other Sunday night, Buffalo and Cincinnati.
Exactly. So to me, I feel like there's one spot. I know the Bills have left a lot to be desired, but I just feel like they're a complete team. Look, without Milano, they've taken some serious injuries on the defensive side of the ball, no doubt about it. Milano and
Tre'Davious White.
Exactly, Tre'Davious White. There you go. So 2 of their best players. So they're gone. They haven't played great. You could make a case that they should have lost to the Giants, that they didn't get that PI call on Waller in the end zone, and you feel like, okay, now you got it from the 1, you win that game with Saquon Barkley. And if Chris Godwin just decides to look for a ball, they maybe lose to Tampa as well. So you can make a case that the Bills aren't quite right, and and you get to play them head to head. But man, I just feel like those are some really good teams up there. When I'm looking at the standings, and I think about this team could be 4-3 had they just maintained against the Titans. It feels so much better than 3-4 when you look up and you see Chiefs, Dolphins, Jags, Ravens, Bills, and Bengals all in front of you.
So look at this AFC. So I completely agree with you. I think there's those 6 teams are going to be there once we get to January. So this is who you're competing against: Pittsburgh, Cleveland, the Jets. That's why Monday's big.
Right.
Tennessee. Let's say Tennessee. You guys will know the results, so I don't want to speculate on tonight. But Will Levis looked good last week. He's keeping
playing
them
great
in
tonight.
On Thursday.
He's playing great, man.
So maybe they got something in Will Levis, and the Titans go on a run. Mike Vrabel can coach him up with the best of them. Denver may think that they can get on a run. They're only a half a game back of the Chargers right now.
Right.
I don't know if Antonio Pierce and company in Vegas are going to get it done. I think the Colts are a year away from doing much without Anthony Richardson. I
mean, here's the good news, Chris, right? Think of all those names I just read off. So we know, like we just talked about this, right? The Bengals are coming on. The Browns have perhaps the best defense in the league. They've got serious issues on offense, particularly at quarterback. But, they've got they're in the conversation as the best defense in football. So the Chargers get to play the Ravens. The Chargers get to play the Bills. They get to play both of them at home. And they're both in prime time.
Yep.
Ravens on Sunday night, Bills on Saturday night. And the Bills have to travel on what I'm guessing is, let me see if that's, it's not, I highly doubt it's coming off the bye. No. So they're going to be coming to play us on a short week, and they're going to have to travel on a short week. So you get a little bit of an advantage there. So that's the good news, is these teams are in front of you, but you got a head-to-head, and you have a chance to own that tiebreaker. So, unfortunately for the Chargers, the Ravens are going to be coming off. They're going to be coming off the mini bye. They're playing Cincinnati that Thursday night before they play the Chargers on Sunday night.
Gigantic, honestly. If the Bengals are who we think they are, I think that they could end up winning the North. Like, they started slow. That game would be crucial for them to because I think they lost to the Ravens earlier this year, if I'm not mistaken.
They did.
So you split. Then you have Baltimore come to town. If the Chargers get the head-to-head against the Ravens,
right.
Now we're doing the
it's in front of them. I think all I'm saying, Chris, is it's in front of them. As daunting as it looks, the good news is you get to play them. You get to earn it. If we feel like, oh wow, I don't think the Bills are falling out, I don't think the Ravens are falling out. Well, guess what? You can go earn it. You can knock them off, and now you've got the tiebreaker there. And it's still. I hate doing it because, look, this is a big game this week, but it's still in front of them. You just got to win. You've just got to win. You had to beat the Bears. We said that. This is a must-win game against the Bears. This, too, is a must-win game. Get this game on Monday night against a team that is one of the absolute worst on that side of the football. They are one of the worst offenses in the league. The Bears are one of the worst offensive lines and defensive lines in the league. Take advantage of it, and they did. And so I think this is a chance for the defense to really flex, to say, hey, these 6 quarters were not a fluke. These last 6 quarters are who we are. And we can make plays, and we can sack the quarterback, and we can create turnovers. And, man, talk about creating turnovers. I'll tell you, there's just some guys, man, that are football players. Alohi is a football player. He is always in the right spot at the right time and makes the right play over and over again. And the timing on that, and that's what a pass rush does. So now you get this pass rush, and Bajan's a tick off, and he's got to get rid of it, and he doesn't have the zip on it that he wants to have on it, so it floats up a little bit, and there's Alohi ready to make that hit, shoulder on the ball as soon as it arrives, pops up in the air, and Derwin is able to get the interception. Like, it's so good to have Alohi Gilman back there and just to have
so
that
glad you mentioned
steady
him, Mike.
presence.
I'm so glad you mentioned him because, again, I think he got hurt in the Minnesota game, right? So, like, the Chargers had not had him, and I think the secondary really did suffer without him. He's like a glue guy. He knows the system. He's a calming presence back there. Derwin trusts him, and I look at these games against Chicago and the Jets as almost confidence builders for this team. Right? You beat the Bears. All right. Next step. Go on the road Monday night, beat a team you're supposed to beat, get to 500, right? Then you get the Lions. And we saw what the Lions did to the Raiders. The Lions are good. They're a really good team. The blip against the Ravens, you throw it out. It wasn't their day. That'll be the game, right? A couple confidence builders and then say, okay, we got Detroit in our place. This is where we can make our move. We can get to 5-4, get on a roll, and prove that we can actually beat a really good team, a Super Bowl contending team in the NFC. So none of this matters. We'll have a different conversation if the Chargers fall to the Jets, but I think that they are prime to at least get back to 500 here on Monday night.
I just feel like, again, the blueprint is there. Let me just get to the box score from this. Again, it was 24 punts. 24 punts. They sacked him 4 times. They had 8 tackles for loss. Like, they forced the Jets to punt 11 times for 529 punt yards. And that's a Giants defense that is not great. It's not. So
you got Tommy DeVito under center.
Exactly. And that's why they only scored 10 points, right? They should have scored 13 and got the win. But, I think that's create the turnovers, go up, don't let this team lean on Breece Hall, and, just get after it. Stop the run, force Zach Wilson to beat you with anyone but Garrett Wilson. My gosh, the Giants were able to shut them down in the run game. They only rushed for 58 yards on 22 carries, and look what it was. 13 points in overtime. That's what you got to do. You got to shut down the run because, Robert Saleh is not going to let Zach Wilson throw it all over the yard unless he absolutely has to. Yeah. He wants to protect the ball and lean on his defense and try to create some fumbles or try to create some turnovers. So, to me, it's another one on paper that looks lopsided. I know their defense is really good, but you ought to be able to create some turnovers and just really shut that offense down to where you can get up 2 scores and then start cutting loose.
I'm looking at this box score from the Eagles game just because I feel like that's an offense that has a playmaker on the outside in Brown and Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert, a running game. The DeAndre Swift had 10 carries for 18 yards in that game. A.J. Brown went off 7 for 131. Devontae Smith 5 for 44. They only scored 14 points. Jalen Hurts had 3 interceptions. So I think
that's
the key is Justin just taking care of the football. They
turned the ball over 4 times.
Yeah.
So that's the key. That's what the Jets want to do, right? They ran it 21 times for 89 yards. They weren't getting a bunch of yards on the carry. I have the box score in front of me now, and they're like, hey, Zach, you're going to throw it 33 times for 186 yards. You're going to take 5 sacks, but you're not going to throw a pick, and you're not going to fumble, and we're going to win this game by field position and field goals and a timely touchdown somewhere.
The field position thing, I think, is absolutely key, too. And somebody mentioned this to me yesterday is, how important it is to have a weapon like Cameron Dicker and to take the points against a team like the Jets, right?
It's a great point.
Instead of going for it on 4th down in 3 or 4th and 5, if Cameron Dicker is 53 and in, trust Cameron Dicker. He's missed 2 field goals as a member of the Chargers. He's been money, automatic, and an absolute weapon for this team. So I think especially in a game like this, Money, where we could see it being low scoring and points are going to probably be at a premium, Cameron Dicker could be another deciding force here in this game.
Yeah, that's a great point, Chris. And I think that's something that Coach Staley has said when he's been asked about the fourth down stuff. He's like, it's not a philosophy. It's just the game dictates it, And to me, you're right. This is a game where you're fine taking field goals. We'll take them all. You can get into positive, you can get into plus territory and get into Dicker range. And, hopefully it's a favorable weather, which it looks like it's just going to be a little chilly. But outside of that, I think you're fine. Then take the points. Take the points. So, look, I think it's not blowout. I don't think it's like that, but I do think it's a game where, let's see that Brandon Staley defense shine. Let's do the same thing you did against the Bears. You took away DJ Moore. You took away the run game. Do it again. Take away the run game. Take away Garrett Wilson. Let anything else beat you. Anything else is fine, but don't let it be those two things.
Yep, and I just go back to what you said earlier that I think is probably the most likely path to winning is to get out in front of this team right off the rip.
Right?
Like you said, get up 14-0, because I can't envision Zach Wilson coming back and beating Justin Herbert. So a quick start on offense, be opportunistic on defense, and see if you can get to 4-4. You ready for New York?
Well, I better be. I'm leaving tomorrow morning. So I'm going to be there all weekend. So I'll have plenty of time to get settled in before the Monday nighter. I'll just say this in closing. I think it's a great opportunity for Justin to use his legs in this one. To me, that's something that's going to have to be a factor. And I'm not talking about him running for 90 yards. I'm talking about Kellen Moore designing some just boots, just get him on the move. Don't let him sit back there. They're too good up the middle to just get in his lap too quickly. So, and you know what? When he's on the move, take off. Take off and pick up 5, slide, and just get positive yards. That's going to be the key.
Maybe, hey, you know what? Maybe design runs. Like, if that's the way to get the running game going, why not?
And to get the team on their heels, no doubt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, guys. Well, hey, as always, we appreciate you listening, watching. For Money, I'm Chris. We'll see you next week. Hopefully the Chargers will be a 4-4, and we'll be talking about a pivotal game against the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
So we'll see you next time.
Let's get it.